Hello and welcome to Spoiler Alert, where I tell you how something was that isn't yet. This week, we're doing something a little bit different. See, I'm filming this right around Thanksgiving, and despite my freaky magic knowledge of the future, I'm not entirely sure when I'm gonna get to post this video. So, rather than spoil something that's, really time sensitive and coming out right away, I'm just gonna tell you all of what's gonna happen in the next year of the Transformers IDW comics. Let's start with more than meets the eye. The formula to spoil this comic is actually really simple. Just ask yourself a question. Do you like a character? You do? Well, guess what? Something bad happens to them. It's just that easy. Turns out this is all a ploy by Rung the psychiatrist to make sure he has a never-ending supply of patients. So what of our captains? Well, the writer seems convinced that Megatron has some sort of soft side, that there is a soul behind the monster that murders worlds. To convince us of this, he takes concrete steps to make sure that Megatron is never portrayed as just a villain again. Naturally, this decision sticks, and they never reverse it ever. And Rodimus? Well, he keeps himself occupied by giving the Lost Light a bit of what he sees as a much-needed makeover. The plot for Rewind and Chrome Dome gets thicker as it's revealed that Chrome Dome erases inconvenient truths from Rewind's memory. The real shame here? These inconvenient memories never would have been made if Chrome Dome could just remember to do the dishes. Other characters continue to go about their daily lives. Ultra Magnus writes down a few more rules for the Autobot manual, Swerve makes a few more Energon cocktails inspired by TV tropes, and Ratchet upgrades his hands with some inspiration from his friend Jazz. Jazz hands. Now, I know many of us were expecting Tarn to be the final villain of this series. But no, in his travels, the leader of the DJD has discovered another who is even more adept than he is at using the power of the voice to maim, kill, and torture. Thus, he swears fealty to her, hoping to learn the secrets of Celine Dion. Now, I know many of us have been wondering what Drift has been up to since he got kicked off the Lost Light, and we get to find out in the new miniseries Empire of Stone. My bet? Drift will be fine, he's Steel type. Pokemon tells me that's strong against Stone. We're also going to get to see the return of Windblade in her own series because evidently she had a lot of fans. Also, she was popular. So what's going on in the comic that used to be called Robots in Disguise? Well, first off, I should mention that Skylynx and Cup will not be returning as main characters. Why? Because someone let them have a talk together and they began to reminisce about the good old days. This conversation doesn't end. We also, unfortunately, witnessed the death of poor Thundercracker's puppy. Why? Because it dies. That is what fictional dogs do. Naturally, Thundercracker tries to write a screenplay to memorialize his fallen puppy, only to realize that it's been done to death. Much like his dog. Arcee also has an uncomfortable moment when people start asking, why is oil leaking from her undercarriage? As it turns out, Jhiaxus turned her into a woman in all the most unpleasant ways. And no one noticed up until now because, quite frankly, she is a murderous psychopath no matter what time of the month you ask her. And before someone tells me that was a sexist joke, I'd like to point out that Arcee's whole backstory in the comics is in fact a sexist joke. Prowl, though, is my absolute favorite part of this series, and my love for him only grows with every desk he flips over. Turns out the Constructicons love him also and start to build statues in his honor and even sleep with body pillows of him. Oh man, I would totally buy one of those. The fact that Prowl can now combine with the Constructicons to form Devastator is the spark that sets off the next big event for the year, the Combiner Wars. Evidently, for reasons that completely baffle me, Starscream is skeptical of Prowl's mental state and wants to make sure that he controls a combiner in case Devastator comes along to try to throw him over like an airplane-shaped desk. And it looks like Optimus Prime is going to be joining in the combinations, a role for which he has evidently put on some weight. Yes, it's not just his words that are weighty anymore. So that's it for this week's Spoiler Alert. Please tell me what you want reviewed in advance in the comments down below, and until next time, don't say I didn't warn you.